The 7th Annual OSMOSIS Con taking place October 10th to the 12th, 2021 at the Bahia Resort Hotel, San Diego, so only a few weeks away. We have exciting news. You'll be able to attend this renowned event in person in San Diego or virtually through a dynamic online community. Cynthia Hetherington and the HT Group consistently deliver the best training at this open source intelligence skills building conference, and this year is no exception. You can learn more at osmosiscon.com.
I want to talk to everybody today about ScopeNow.com. ScopeNow has been a big-time sponsor of this program for quite some time, and I just love their service. I've been using them since the beginning. I'm one of their beta customers, and it's been so awesome to see them grow into the business that they are today, and just how they just keep reinventing themselves and pushing themselves to get more and more information. What it comes down to is ScopeNow is a tool that you definitely need to use if you do social media investigations, any internet research, and really spending less time digging around and looking for information. I think is one of the best points of how ScopeNow can help you. Their AI platform, their analytics are amazing. You really get an idea of what you need. You're reducing the time, you're reducing the manpower that you're spending on doing this research, because they're essentially doing it for you, and they're doing it correctly, which is most important. One of the new things that they're actually offering is this flagging system where you can flag behaviors and really highlight and look out for fraud. If you're doing a lot of fraud research, this is a fantastic tool, and you can set up alerts. So you have particular people that you're looking at, you can actually set up alerts to get notifications when the criteria that you set up is actually is flagged and goes off. It's really, really amazing. And their relationship and association analytics are top notch, really cutting edge and really, really cool. When they brought that out on version 3, it was a game changer. I mean, really being able to see how people interact together and having that relationship, analysis is really, really something that's cool. One of the other things about being involved with ScopeNow is their ability to offer webinars. Their team is cutting edge on putting together and getting out really, really great content. If you're a member of ScopeNow, if you know who they are, you've seen them around on LinkedIn, you'll know that they're constantly doing webinars on these new websites that are coming out, and they're really staying on top of it. And don't forget, any reports that you generate, you can actually white label those reports and put your own logos on and really make them look professional, which could equate to more billing for you as well. So check them out today. It's www.scopenow.com. They're a great, great company. They should be one of the tools in your toolbox, along with whatever kind of search engines you do. You need to make sure that ScopeNow is a part of that suite. ScopeNow.com.
Are you an investigative professional? Did you know you can now find the best private investigator resources using investigatorstoolbox.com? It is a resource community built exclusively for licensed investigators and investigative professionals. This is the future of investigative learning, networking, and resource management. You can interact with some of the best investigative minds in the business in our community section. Our private investigator resources also have a robust learning section packed full of free training webinars, audio teachings, and helpful articles. Many teachings offer CLE credit. Our data resources section features over 225 free OSINT resources. This site is also designed to create a private personal resource library for your use when you do research. We have partnered with some of the best investigators and businesses in this industry to provide benefits and discounts to our members. We have over $1,250 worth of discounts and benefits available exclusively to members of the community. For less than 49 cents a day, you can access this amazing resource tool. Download the Investigator's Toolbox app available on Android and iOS, or visit our webpage at investigators-toolbox.com. The best private investigator resources and this amazing community are only a few clicks away.
Welcome to OSMOSIS Quick Hits on PI Perspectives. Today we bring you our final episode highlighting some of the speakers at the 2021 conference in San Diego, California. We hope you've enjoyed the content. This week, Buddy Jericho joins the program. Buddy and Matt have a great chat about his class at Osmosis. Buddy's teaching about digital disinformation. This is especially interesting considering what's been happening in Afghanistan. So this is a great episode. Now please welcome Buddy Jericho and your host, Private Investigator Matt Spaier.
Welcome everybody to the Quick Hits edition of PI Perspectives. We are winding down with the Osmosis conference, and I believe we saved one of the best for last. I want to welcome Buddy Jericho to the program. Buddy's been a little bit busy working with stuff that's been going on in Afghanistan, and he's got a really, really interesting track, and I'm very excited to hear about it. So, Buddy, I want to welcome you to the program. How are you?
Very good, Matt, and thank you for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. So it's not too late for folks to sign up for Osmosis. They can, by the time this comes out, there'll be about 10 days left. So you can still get your butt out to San Diego, or you can, sign up virtually and attend the program as well. But Buddy, tell me a little bit about your background, and then we'll jump into your topic.
Sure, Matt. I spent about 9 years in the Army as an intelligence analyst. I then transitioned over into human intelligence, which was really my passion in the intel field, at least until 2012, when we withdrew from Iraq and started winding down in Afghanistan. I was given an opportunity to build a course leveraging open source information to teach members of the federal government essentially how to separate fact from fiction based on information coming out of off of the internet and social media. And so as I started to get into the open source information space, I discovered OSINT. And as we become more digital and more data is introduced to the internet, and we become more of a connected world, I realized how important and critical the OSINT skill set is for people, especially our government and private sector businesses going forward. And so it became my new passion. And so in 2014, we established Echo Analytics Group, which was really built initially to train members of the Department of Defense and the FBI on how to not only analyze, but essentially collect, analyze, and leverage open source information to make decisions.
Right. Yeah, that's super interesting stuff, man. And I'm sure you've seen in that short amount of time how things have really changed and how we're so dependent now on, our phones and things that are in front of us. And, even with these last few elections, what you're reading, is it really what's out there? Is it really the truth? That is a mountain to climb, my friend.
Yeah, Matt, it's tough because, the average child today is exposed to more data in 2 days than a person was exposed to an entire lifetime prior to 1970.
It's crazy.
And so whether it's real information or bad information, the reality of it is our children are exposed to it all day, and so are we.
Yeah.
And so what we've seen is that these echo chambers begin to form on social media.
Yep.
And people have these confirmation biases, and the more the less effort we give to things like critical thinking and understanding where these data sets come from and who actually owns these data sets and the companies behind the data sets. Without that knowledge, without the average person having that knowledge, their ability to impact how we feel, how we think, and how we act is significant. And so I think what we've seen over the past few years, at least in my experience, in my opinion, is people are starting to move more into these bubbles than ever before.
Yeah, makes sense.
And I think that's one of the reasons OSINT is such an important discipline.
Sure.
Because it does require critical thinking skills, and people are being affected by these disinformation campaigns. We see them at Echo Analytics Group. We see them happening all over the place every day. And one of the other challenges, more importantly, for the United States or for the American people, is it's real easy to pull at our heartstrings. As a society, we are very emotional, and like what we saw with Afghanistan. You post an image with somebody being hurt or imprisoned or treated in a way that we don't agree with, people will put money against that cause. People will be up in arms about that cause. And in some cases, those events aren't even happening. And so that's one of our most important roles, I think, in the Afghan effort, and actually in several other efforts over the past few years, is really just helping people see what the truth is as opposed to what the media environment is telling us sometimes.
Yeah, I want to jump into that a little bit further, but before we do, I read an interesting article in the Wall Street Journal last week online with regards to screen time and dopamine, and how the next generation of children are really, that addiction is real. There's science behind it. The chemical makeup of what your brain is releasing, when you're diving into, Twitter or TikTok or any other stuff, the stupid reels will get you, right. It's pretty crazy. And it's very interesting to see how you can use that for political gain or, monetary gain on the stuff, using that science to your advantage. And I think it's so important why, what you're doing is super important. So tell me a little bit about what your role was with, or is with your company, and what's going on in Afghanistan right now.
Sure. So I'm the CEO of Echo Analytics Group. And our role in Afghanistan really is we have 3 lines of effort that we're supporting. And those 3 lines of effort are tied to a much larger lines of effort, mostly getting people out of country and coordinating aircraft. But in terms of what our company is doing, one is our line of effort. One is really to track the migration of people on the ground who want to get out of country. AMSITs, SIVs, visa card holders that are in country that have not been able to get out. We've built a piece of technology that allows them to tell us where they are and what their current situation is.
Right.
So that's our first line of effort, is just we need to know where those people are so that we can help them. The second line of effort for our company really is to just separate fact from fiction, collect all the media that's coming out, and help decision makers that we support make decisions based on what's actually happening.
Right.
Our third line of effort is really more so tied to identifying friendly organizations and groups on the ground that can help us with negotiating to get people out of country that are AMSITs or visa card holders. And so we've identified some people inside of Afghanistan who don't necessarily want to leave, but aren't necessarily fans of the Taliban. Yeah. And so we're engaging them to have them help us with some of with our efforts there.
So crazy, man. It's like the Wild West over there. Or at least that's the way it's portrayed on the news that you're reading. It's
well, and one of the things a lot of the Taliban, in the West, we kind of we hear the group Taliban and we think of like, okay, that's an organization, that's a group, it's got a structure, it's got a hierarchy. Mm-hmm. But in fact, it doesn't, right? There are different Taliban groups in all different parts of the country.
Yes.
And while they all subscribe to the name Taliban, they all operate a little bit differently. So for instance, the group of Taliban operating in and around Kabul, they have their motivations and their desires are a lot different than, say, the group of Taliban operating up in Mazar-e Sharif. And so while they all have the same name, they've got to be treated very differently.
Yeah.
And that's sometimes hard for folks in the West to understand, because when we think of, like the FBI has a mission. They kind of all operate under similar protocol. They may be a little bit different, but they operate under similar protocol. The Taliban, it's really a whole bunch of different groups that subscribe to the name. And so you've got to treat each region, each government a little bit differently, especially when you're trying to help people get out of country or especially AMSITs that
totally believe that. So let's talk a little bit about your teaching track, right? So digital disinformation, obviously we're talking about that right now, but what are your plans are? What are you bringing to the table for your talk?
Sure. So Matt, I had a really unique opportunity early on in the war in Iraq. I was an interrogator and I did other human intelligence work. But during that time, I actually got to meet with, we wound up capturing the media emir of all of Al-Qaeda. And so during my time with him, he sort of explained to me exactly how Al-Qaeda was using disinformation and how they were planning their operations around disinformation. And so I had that unique one-on-one experience with him to understand their operations from his perspective. And he was able to show me some of the successes they had and some of the areas where they saw opportunity for growth as they expanded the caliphate and expanded their operations worldwide.
Right.
And so one of the things I hope to do in my class is not just talk about this information or give some examples, I actually want to walk people through the history and the evolution of disinformation, at least in the modern times, and how they've done such a good job of studying and understanding not just our governments, but also our people, so they know where our vulnerabilities exist within civil society, and they leverage those things to expand their efforts and their capabilities.
Right. So what do you think is the general feedback that you're getting from these agencies that you're working with? I mean, are they like all in, and do you think they trust you with the intel that you're giving them, or is it like you have to sell them a bit on the idea of how you're developing the info?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think open source intelligence 5 years ago, most people didn't even know what that acronym meant.
Right.
Now, granted, obviously it's been around since, the establishment of the BBC was when we first started leveraging open source information for defense purposes. But over the past 5 years, I think people have started to realize, especially our clients, how important this data is. Mm-hmm. And they're realizing that when we, from a defense perspective, we no longer have boots on the ground in places like Iraq and Afghanistan like we used to, or other countries. And so our access to information is extremely limited, which to me has propelled open source information to the front of the line, because in some cases, that's all the data that we have. So I think they're becoming a lot more comfortable with it. But one of the things we've done too as an organization is we've developed an open source information methodological framework. And so we don't just randomly, grab tweets or grab other pieces of social media information and make an assessment. We've actually built out the framework that all information goes into, so it can be assessed from multiple perspectives and a level of validity can be given to that information. Right. And so we put that level of scrutiny on the data to ensure that it's going through the same wickets and protocols that any other type of information would in the intelligence community, like human intelligence or signals intelligence, right, or measures and signatures intelligence. So we're applying those same analytical discipline and processes to open source data that we would to any other data set. And I think that makes people feel more comfortable. Yeah.
So this is going to be your first osmosis, right? You've not attended yet, and you get to come and screaming like a speaker. I just love meeting folks like you at events like this, because it's like, it blows my mind, because I would never, when would I have, the chance to talk to someone with your background, right? And just learn what you do and what you're about. And as a business owner, somebody who does investigative work, when the need arises, somebody says, hey, do you know anybody that can do this kind of stuff? You're able to do that because of the relationships that you develop. So I'm really excited to actually meet you there. So we're going to wind down here. I'm going to ask you one silly question. So Loki was really popular a few months ago, and it was based upon variants and different versions of yourself that were out there. So if there was another version of Buddy, what would that version be doing right now?
If there was another, the biggest risk I took in starting a business is I walked away from a government job. Mm-hmm. And so for some reason, something came over me and I decided to take that risk and do it. And I'm really happy with my decision, and we've grown as a company. But I think the other version of Buddy would probably still be working for the government. I'd probably be sitting behind a desk in DC right now, managing a platform of other intelligence folks in some foreign country. Yeah. But yeah, I think that's what another version of me would be doing.
I guess you can't get away from it, man. It's in your blood.
Yeah. When my first deployment was to Bosnia back in '96, right? And I got my first taste of intelligence work, and since then I've loved everything I do. So.
Super interesting stuff, man. Definitely. Well, I look forward to meeting you in a couple of weeks, and I encourage folks, again, it's not too late. Go sign up if you can get to San Diego in person. The resort is amazing. The folks are going to be amazing that are talking. Go check out the lineup, and it'll be October 10th to the 12th, and just to be a really, really special event. So, Buddy, I want to thank you for coming on, and I thank everybody for listening the last few weeks to all the speakers, and I hope it's swayed you into deciding to go to this thing, because I think it's going to be a really special event. We got gypped last year. We had to do everything virtually, but now you could do either or, so whatever's easier for you. So thanks for coming on, buddy.
Thank you, Matt. I appreciate the opportunity, and I look forward to meeting you and everybody else at Osmosis as well.
Awesome. So everybody have a great rest of the week, and we'll be back with a regular show on Monday. Take care, everyone.
Thanks to Buddy for jumping on and discuss this amazing topic. Still thinking about osmosis? Now's the time to enroll if you haven't already. It's not too late. You can learn more about the event at osmosiscon.com. Links in the show notes. We also want to thank ScopeNow and investigatorstoolbox.com for sponsoring the episode. If you haven't checked out the investigatorstoolbox.com yet, you're missing out on this dynamic resource community for the investigative professional. You can't beat it. Just use code PIP 201836 and you'll save $20 when you join. And you can do just that through the app available on iOS and Android platforms. If you have a question or a comment about the show, email Matt at matthews@satellitepi.com. You can also find him on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. We want your feedback to bring you the best shows possible, and we'll be back on Monday with a new show. So tune in and stay safe.